boy was taught to be a fearless warrior. He was separated from his mother at an early age. He was taught to be a merciless leader without fear. He was punished to be a painless warrior. He was sent to spend his time in the wild and return to his people only if he stayed alive. A big wolf saw him. Growling, it started to surround him. The boy was clever enough to lure the wolf toward a narrow passage. The wolf attacked the boy, but he thrusted his spear into the wolf's heart. He finished it by landing the final blow on the wolf's mouth. He returned to his people, and everyone bowed their heads because he was destined to be a king, King Leonidas. A group of scary-looking Persian horsemen moved toward Sparta with bows on them. They showed skulls to the Spartan people to scare them. King Leonidas was teaching his son how to fight and be a fearless warrior. Then a messenger arrived to call him. He warned the messenger that he would be held accountable for his words before he spoke. The messenger wanted the king to surrender to Xerxes, the king of Persia. He told Leonidas that Xerxes' army was too vast and they would conquer every place on earth, so he must surrender. But Leonidas rejected his offer, saying there will never be a day when he surrenders. He will fight till his last breath. But the messenger threatened him, so Leonidas and his people drew their swords toward the messengers and killed them with their swords, throwing them into a pit. Leonidas decided to stop the Persians and went to take blessings from the Ephors, the priests of the old god. He climbed up, almost fell, but kept moving. A priest was already waiting for him. They moved together. He tried to explain his plan, but even the king had to bribe them, because no Spartan king went to war without their blessings. Leonidas gave gold and explained his plans. He would draw Xerxes' army into a narrow corridor and kill them there. But the Ephors told him that Sparta would fall. The king left in disappointment. He was unaware that the Ephors had already taken a bribe from Xerxes' man. He decided to spend his final moments with his wife before going to war. He and his 300 soldiers were ready for battle, but those who secretly betrayed him tried to stop him, saying the Ephors had forbidden the war and were above all. Despite this, the king decided to move toward the battle. Seeing his wife and son, his heart was heavy, but there was no place for weakness, so he left. They were marching toward the battlefield, but Ephialtes, a deformed shoulder, was watching them. They marched toward the battle. On the way, he met his allies, and they moved together. They noticed Ephialtes was following them, but the king knew he had been following since Sparta. Something caught their eyes, and it was a huge fire burning a village. When they moved there, nothing was left, but the footprints were too big. Suddenly, they saw a shadow approaching. It turned out to be a child. He fell on the king's lap and told him, "They came from the blackness and killed them all, except for me." Other soldiers found the villagers. Few were scared to see them. It was a tree full of people hanged to it. Ephialtes was still following them. They moved forward into the narrow corridor, into the hot gates, because that was the only place where they could hold Xerxes' army. They saw many ships full of Persians, and they were outnumbered in front of Xerxes' army. But rain came, and with it came a tornado that killed many Persians. All soldiers were celebrating, but the king was not. Few soldiers were sneaking on Xerxes' army. Arcadian was worried to see so many still alive after that tornado killed many of them. But another one was smiling, saying he had fought many times, but this time it would be a beautiful death. Arcadian couldn't believe his thinking. One emissary of Xerxes came, beating the slaves. He saw his people were killed and demanded the leader of that group, but Spartans were minding their own business. Suddenly, he saw one of his friends on the wall and was shocked. One Spartan told him their ancestors built it, but he got angry and tried to hit the soldier, but he jumped and cut off his arm. He warned the emissary to go back and tell Xerxes to take back his army, but he said his people would kill all his family and kill them too. But he was happy to fight. Ephialtes came near the king and told him there was a path that Xerxes' army could use to destroy his plan. He wanted to join the king. He even said he had trained for this his whole life. The king tested his skills. He looked fine, but he couldn't lift his shield. The king told him they fight as a unit. Any weak spot could be targeted by Xerxes' army, so he couldn't be in the army. Ephialtes got angry and threw his spear and shield. The ground shook. The captain told Leonidas it was an earthquake, but the king told him it was time for battle formation. Xerxes had a huge army, but the Spartans had courage. The king told his soldiers, "This is the place where we kill." Xerxes' army's leader told the Spartans to throw their weapons, but they threw an arrow and killed him, saying, "Come and get them from us." They headed toward the Spartans. Spartans blocked them, then used the strategy, push, kill, and form the shield again. They killed many of them, chanting, "No prisoners, no mercy." The king went in front, killing here and there, throwing spears, bringing men down. He used everything he had, sword and shield. They moved the remaining army to the edge and threw them into the ocean. But then Persians shot so many arrows that they even made the sky black. The Spartans covered with their shields. One soldier laughed, saying, "We are fighting in the shade," and everyone joined him like they were enjoying it. After the arrows stopped, they broke the arrows off their shields and formed the unbreakable shield again. They started killing again. The king was enjoying an apple after the battle was over. They killed plenty of them, and the king told them to be ready for the next one. Then a soldier came to tell the king there was a small army coming to talk to him. He left the captain in charge and went. A man with ornaments all over his body came to meet Leonidas. It was Xerxes himself. He told the king to surrender and bow his head. He would give him everything he asked for. The king told him after killing all those armies, his feet would not kneel. Xerxes got angry and told Leonidas he would slaughter his army and his people and erase Sparta from the map. Leonidas told him free men stood against many, and in battle, even the god king Xerxes could bleed. They made a huge wall of Xerxes' army and waited for them. A huge army called Immortals approached with a giant. They looked like monsters. They stopped to see the wall of dead men and were surprised but aware. Spartans pushed the dead bodies down. They killed one, then moved to others. The giant was roaring. They released it. The giant approached, grunting. One soldier broke its head protection. They really looked like monsters, and the king saved the soldier. The giant picked up an axe and was about to kill the king, but a soldier saved him, though he was thrown with a kick. The king tried to kill with a spear, but failed. The giant started to beat the king, cut him near his eyebrows, and threw his helmet. But the king managed to put a knife in its eye and finally finished him. The king called Arcadians. They helped them. Now the king wore his headgear and started to kill. He killed many. While they were fighting, Xerxes was secretly watching from the top, disappointed. The next day, Xerxes' army came with a big rhino, but a Spartan soldier threw a spear and it died. Now Xerxes' army used bombs to kill them, but Spartans were so courageous, they killed one and the bomb blasted on them. Xerxes was mad watching this. Xerxes killed his generals because they failed to kill Spartans. He sent huge elephants, but Spartans forced them into the ocean. They gained more confidence and killed many. The captain was proud to see his son killing the enemy, but they killed his son. He went wild and killed many in pain. He started to cry, and they took him away. Ephialtes moved to Xerxes, and Xerxes offered him everything: women, money, whatever he needed. Seeing this, he betrayed the king and joined him. Arcadian came and told the king Ephialtes had joined Xerxes and his army was surrounding him. The king wanted his soldiers prepared for battle. Arcadian wanted to flee or surrender, but the king wanted to fight till his last breath. Arcadian left with his men. Leonidas told his soldiers that the 300 would be remembered for eternity. Just then, the captain came to say he lost his son and now wanted to avenge. Leonidas sent one soldier home to tell what happened here. Ephialtes showed the Spartans location and they headed toward them. Xerxes was watching it all from behind. Spartans were surrounded on all sides. One Xerxes commander came forward and demanded surrender. Ephialtes also wanted him to join, but it made him angry. The king thought and remembered his old days. He felt deep inside that it was his last day, but he only wanted it to end well and fearless. He was backed by his fearless soldiers. He threw his helmet, dropped his shield, dropped his spear, and bent his knees. As Xerxes enjoyed this moment, Leonidas called his men and he killed the commander. As his soldiers were dying, he picked a spear and threw it at Xerxes. He hit his target and enjoyed even while getting shot. All were dying by the arrows. His captain showed his final courage and killed a few, but was killed eventually. All fell apart. The king and one brave soldier shared their final words. The king stood and remembered his wife one last time before getting shot by thousands of arrows. The one soldier whom Leonidas had sent returned and gave her what she had given Leonidas before departure. Then she gave it to her son. The 300 soldiers died, but with honor, and will be remembered for the ages. Later, that one soldier gathered 10,000 Spartans.